Well, Nintendo should have really officially unveiled the Switch 2 before the end of the year, because unfortunately for them, we are now at a point where accessory manufacturers are more or less competing for the spotlight, advertising their products early for this unannounced hardware from Nintendo. Like, Nintendo's confirmed it's coming, but we don't have the name, but it seems like we might, because there's yet another and the biggest accessory manufacturer by a long shot so far, by the name of Dbrand. This is not the leak we covered in yesterday's video. Those are some very interesting renders of like a silicone case and probably the highest resolution look at a potential Switch 2 concept or image that we've seen so far. This is entirely separate from that. A larger company, bigger than Satisfy, with their grip case advertisement campaign that they ran. Then we saw Nintendo actually, or somebody took down their video, probably just at Nintendo's request, with that image of the Switch, kind of a concept, again, a mock-up maybe, or the actual console. We don't know, in their marketing material. But again, it does seem like now accessory manufacturers are trying to capitalize on all of this hype and coverage online, and it'll probably make Nintendo rethink giving out exact dimensions and console specific details early to partners in the future. But we do have Dbrand's new advertising campaign, which is clearly poking fun at Nintendo Switch 2, and it could have potentially just confirmed a lot of different things that we've talked about here and discussed on the channel from prior leaks. And with a company from their size, you have to take everything with a grain of salt until it's officially announced. But I do think that they are absolutely teasing what their Switch 2 case looks like at launch, and it gives us some exciting new details to kind of latch onto and say, yeah, this is what the console is going to look like when it's in our hands. Plus, from the Game Awards, a new game got announced. Nintendo uploaded the trailer in 4K, which normally does not happen, and this is probably going to be a cross-generational title as well, and one that would not have a problem running at 4K on some massively upgraded hardware like we're going to be talking about with the Switch 2. So want to mention that piece at the end, kind of some reassurance that 4K resolution is what we're going to be expecting in docked play at the very least. Not with all games, of course, but definitely ones of this scale. So we're going to get on the same page with all of this info. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And we have to first hop over to Dbrand and a tweet that they put out with the following image, where it says, "We will not be answering any questions at this time." And you have a back of a console case with the words "Kill Switch 2." And now I do want to spend a second before we look at this image in detail and highlight for any skeptics out there, of course, we can potentially say that this is something in line with their Kill Switch branding for their case that is actually tied to for the Steam Deck. As you can see, the following accessory on screen with the name Project Kill Switch. So is Kill Switch 2 just another Steam Deck case, maybe for a new model of Steam Deck? Well, Steam has said that they're not releasing any new models until something massive comes along in the way of mobile technology upgrade for their consoles, and you'll notice some very distinct differences with the buttons that we would need for a Steam Deck case on the back of it specifically, compared to what we see in this new advertisement that we will go to in a moment. But keep in mind, we would need something like an R4, R5 button cutout on each side, and an L4, L5 button cutout, and that is not there on the product we will be looking at next. So while if you do want to set your expectations on the lowest possible front, you might say, well, this is just them creating a new Steam Deck case. Unfortunately, though, none of this lines up with Steam Deck. And obviously, this would be a clever way that Dbrand does like to market their stuff, where it's kind of satire. A lot of times they're joking, trolling. But if they're using the brand name Kill Switch, and obviously Switch is in the name, and then they have a 2 on the back of it, does that leak the name Switch 2? Not officially, but many companies and many YouTubers and websites, you name it, are referring to this thing as a Switch 2 until we get the official name from Nintendo. And the more time goes on, the more I'm convinced it is probably going to be called Switch 2. But now we have the exact same details and design that we walked through in yesterday's accessory manufacturer leak from multiple sources. One of them was a plastic cover case, the other one was a silicone cover case, and we are seeing this line up with the U-shaped kickstand claims like we have seen in the past, and these top triggers that many are still confused about online. I 99% sure these are not trigger buttons that you use in gameplay, but rather the buttons you would press in to disconnect the Joy-Cons with their magnetic attachments from the console itself. Like, I'm almost certain that that's what these are going to be used for. We won't know for sure, but this does line up perfectly with all of these different leaks. And you can even see kind of the outline of the buttons and the rounded ZR and ZL buttons on the back of it here, matching up perfectly with what we've looked at prior leaks. And then we have to transition to this crude drawing that was posted up from Famiboard's user Ninspider that you might remember a lot of people made fun of online. You might also have forgotten that we actually saw a sketch just like this leak the details of the Nintendo Switch before we saw its official reveal, because maybe cell phones are heavily prohibited in companies and factories where people like this are working, so they draw what they're putting together and what they're seeing as a finalized product, as instead of actually going ahead and snapping a photo, which brings us back to that larger dock. And for the sake of this conversation, there is this better photo that was kind of rendered by a user online that you can see here on screen, just for the sake of conversation here quickly. So you do have like kind of this larger dock that we're going to expect, I believe. And you might also remember, due to prior shipping data, it was confirmed that multiple fans will indeed be shipping for the console in its components, and the idea and speculation is that the base console unit itself should only need one fan, so there could be an additional cooling fan in the dock, which is also probably why it needs to be a bigger dock this time around. You then tie that back with the article that we went through yesterday and these new renders that we got from a silicone case. There's some debate online on if this is an actual look at the console or just a high quality render. I tend to think it's a high quality render, and there is some conversation around these buttons and them obviously looking a little bit blurred. The claim is that this was a low resolution image at the start of it, and that somebody did use AI upscaling before sharing in order to kind of upscale the image and make it look better for a more up close inspection. That may or may not be true. Completely take it with a grain of salt if you want, but just look at all of the similarities and patterns here that match up with all of the previous CAD renderings that we've had before. These buttons are in the exact same placement on all of them. It seems like the floodgates have essentially opened from accessory manufacturers, just more or less confirming that this is the form factor and the look of the Switch 2 console. And then we have these new air vents outlined on the bottom, lots more ventilation than what we had with the current Switch. And I do think that this also ties into the idea that that dock will indeed have a fan, and this is going to help move the heat exhaustion through the dock and kind of just have that additional cooling when in docked play. Because again, why would you need a bigger dock? Why would we have two fans in the shipping components if none of that is actually going to be what we see on the finalized console? So I am very inclined to believe that what we are seeing here is accurate. There's a lot of discussion on what this C button could be in terms of the right Joy-Con. Maybe it's a chat window that opens up where you can direct message friends. Maybe it's just something that pulls up a more advanced capture system if you want to capture your gameplay and share it online with friends. It has also been pointed out that in one of these breakdown images that there is a microphone cut out for this particular silicone case from this accessory manufacturer. So chat being on board actually seems like a realistic possibility if they're building in a microphone to the console itself, not the Joy-Con, mind you, but rather the console itself. So keep that in mind. It could be something to mute and unmute that mic. Your guess is as good as mine as far as what you think that might be. But now that we're seeing Dbrand and all of these other accessory manufacturers all kind of insinuate the exact same thing, which is this basic design, and we're seeing it from a company as big as Dbrand. Look them up if you're not familiar. They do massive sales. They do a lot of joking and trolling, but I think this is clearly maybe Kill Switch 2 is going to just be the accessory line name for their Switch 2 branding, and this is the way they can tease it ahead of time. Satisfy even went to reply to their tweet and essentially say that they like their style and you can acquire us in a couple years and complete the portfolio, poking fun at what Satisfy did that probably upset Nintendo as well. And then the only other brief thing that I want to go through here is just the highlight that there's actually a trailer that has come out, officially uploaded on Nintendo's Nintendo of America YouTube channel, and interestingly you can see it's uploaded natively in 4K. We essentially never see Nintendo upload trailers natively in 4K, and while it's not a game that I'm excited about by any stretch of the imagination, it's one that if you look at the visual quality, you could absolutely say something like this on much more powerful hardware should not have any issues running at 4K 30 or 4K 60. There is another graphical topic floating around online for Switch 2 due to some Digital Foundry comments we may or may not dive into, but you look at a simple project like this, clearly with a T239 and whatever it's going to be clocked at, you're not going to have any problems running a game like this at something like 4K. And people were also noticing through our gaming leaks and rumors post that it appears that this image isn't it appears that this trailer rather isn't upscaled or anything like that. It's just it's native, it's crisp, it was rendered in 4K. So we're getting at that point where so many different things are pointing at Nintendo Switch 2. And I would like to point out that this will be available on January 30th for the Switch in 2025. However, that doesn't mean anything in terms of the reveal or launch time, but I mean, towards the end of January is actually where I'm expecting Nintendo to finally reveal this thing. But it does appear that we're just going to continue to see more and more accessory manufacturers all kind of corroborate the same dimensions and exact look for the consoles. You can't convince me at this point that many different companies are going to produce and manufacture a product that's not going to work with Nintendo's next generation hardware, especially with reputable names like Satisfy and Dbrand and all of these other Chinese manufacturing outlets that are just putting out their designs out there online. So let me know what all you make of this in the comments down below. Are you excited for this design for the Switch 2? Is it something that you're content with and you're excited with the more powerful Switch? Because that's what I thought we'd be getting all along, but I do see a lot of discourse online that Nintendo should have changed something up more. We don't know if there's some kind of secret killer app that we don't know about so far, or some kind of new gameplay enhancement when it comes to how you control your characters and stuff like that. Like, we'll have to wait and see if they have some kind of more gimmicky thing, but in my opinion this time around, if it's not broke, don't fix it. The Switch did fantastic things for Nintendo, and I think a more powerful version of that console with a bigger display and something that can run 4K docked games is a very exciting prospect. So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.